What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. It is Tuesday, December 19th. I am your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by the one and only Jason Cabrera. Jason, what's up, buddy?
It's a good thing there's only one of me.
There is.
I think the world can only handle one.
It definitely could not handle two. I can say that much for certain.
That much dad jokes packed into one person is enough. Two people, too much.
So many dad jokes. So many. CJ could not be bothered to join us, apparently, tonight. I don't know. No, he's off doing some stuff. Sends his regards. We got some information for later on in the show from him that we'll pass along. But, two-man show today as we prepare for what should be, I should say, your fantasy championship weekend. Hopefully, all of you survived your weeks.
Drum roll here.
Yeah. Oh man.
Boom.
Yeah, this is where we go back to the explanation that we were moving studios, stuff got broken. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to replace it, which is why there's no video, there's no sound.
But you know what? It's the end of the season, and once we're through the holidays, through the end of the season, we will have time to tighten things up, and this is gonna sound better. We're gonna add a bunch of stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we have a lot of big plans for the future. I'm really excited about it. But these things do happen. But at least we're here. We're recording. We're leading up to the holiday weekend, which, much more importantly, right, is your championship weekend. And who cares about family and the holidays? This is fantasy championships, right? So, I guess
depends on if you made the championship.
That's a valid point, which I guess leads into the question. How'd you do, Jason? How'd your Week 15 go?
Shut up. No,
Dang.
I actually had a pretty good Week 15. I've made the playoffs in every single league except for our League of Record and the Listener League, so the two that I most worry about. Right. But I made it into the championship in every other league, so I got a big Week 16 coming. I need to win 4 championships, and I'll be happy.
There you go. I personally, in our big League of Record, it will be myself, the returning. You were the champion last year, but I've won.
That was the returning.
Yeah, I'm going to return to the championship as I try to extend my dynasty as I go for my 4th ring in 5 years, and I will be facing none other than CJ the Hitman Hickman in our championship game in our League of Record. So all the more reason
CJ is returning to the championship game. He was there with me last year. I defeated him last year.
That's right.
And he's coming back, and actually. Not good news for you, because that's actually what happened to me last year. Was I was returning to the championship game because I faced you the year before, and then I returned to the championship game. I said the second year in the championship, and I defeated you. So history is not on your side, my friend.
No, I am on the wrong side of the trends here. But at least I can say that I've been in the playoffs and the top every single year, and hopefully I can bring home another engraved name on our big trophy that we have for our league.
And then they'll have that one blemish on that trophy.
Yeah, but the 4-1, it's just impressive enough that whatever. It keeps it more interesting. If I win every single year, what's the point? So
that's very true.
I mean, just you winning last year alone has made the league more competitive and interesting this year. So but again, nobody cares about our leagues. It is what it is. But CJ and I will be playing in our big League of Record championship. So all the more reason I'm surprised he's not here to gloat and trash talk and call me out and make some sort of crazy wager on the show. And I mean, I'm talking a little bit of smack here, but nothing compares to CJ. We hear this question all the time from you, the listeners. How do you spice up your league? What do you guys do to really be more engaged with your league and make it more interesting? Well, we have a secret Facebook page. Yeah, have CJ in it helps a lot. But we do have a secret group, so you can post literally anything you want on there, and nobody will see it except for the members of the league itself. And CJ went ahead and made a impressive trash talk video, a la if you guys ever watched The League on FX. Obviously, if you play fantasy football, odds are you've seen that show. Great comedy. And those types of videos are things that we do a lot of in that league. So CJ threw out a lot of trash there. I also made the championships in every other one of my leagues except for our Dynasty League, where I was defeated by having just a crap crap outing. Vast majority.
And who beat you?
I don't actually remember who it was.
Oh, come on. You remember who beat you. Who beat you this week?
I don't know, but I can bring it up. I'm in too many leagues. I can't keep it all straight.
Your mom.
Oh, that's right.
Beat you
That's right. My mother, of all people. Yes, for the listeners out there, my mother plays fantasy football. She's actually pretty darn good at it. And
apparently.
She beat me this week. So actually, this will be her first time in the championship, I think. So.
And she will be facing me.
Hey. So it's going to be the Senior Bowl is what I'm hearing. So
that's rude. That hurts my feelings.
It was meant to. So yeah.
For that, I'm going to have to destroy your mom.
Okay, moving on. I'm not even going to touch that. So yeah, but no, I'm in the championship in, what does that make it, 8 leagues? So yeah, not too bad. Nice. Pretty good season so far.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll bring home a lot of titles. In fact, I want everybody, and this is something that we're gonna be searching for on Twitter. If you guys are on Twitter and you guys win a championship, I want to see #FFFChamp. So we'll search for that, and hopefully we'll see a lot of people bringing home titles. So again, #FFFChamp. Triple F, the Fantasy Football Fanatics. So with that, let's move on. We have an amazing show for you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about all of our studs and duds from Week 15, as we always do, moving forward into Week 16, where we're going to do the top waiver wire targets of the week. Also, the top headlines from around the league. A lot of stuff to get to. 2-man show, so hopefully it'll be timely and less distracted as it can be at times. And just make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening and follow us on social media. Easiest way to interact, get your questions, and get news updates in between recordings. So with that, let's move right into our studs and duds, and we'll start, as always, at the stud position, where we'll start with the quarterbacks, or the stud bracketing, I should say, at the quarterback position, and we will start with Cam Newton. This is a standard scoring, but a 6-point per passing touchdown system, and he was your top quarterback on the week. He went 20 for 31, 242 yards, not the most impressive outing there, but 4 passing touchdowns, added another 58 yards rushing on the ground. That'll do it, folks. That's one way to have a great fantasy week. So I've had people ask, Cam Newton, is he, locked and loaded? I still think he's mostly matchup dependent. This was a great matchup, and he went out and did the thing at home in Carolina. Do you feel differently? Because a lot of people think Cam, he turns it on. You stay in the flames with Cam Newton because he's this kind of potential. What are your thoughts? He has a game against Tampa Bay in Week 16, so it's not like it's a bad game. Absolutely not. No, I don't believe in Cam Newton. Yeah, he's flashy and he has big games like this, but then he'll absolutely disappear. It's matchup dependent. As far as is he going to play well against Tampa Bay? Possibly. I mean, like you said, it's a decent matchup. So he is someone that you could consider starting, but is he locked and loaded every week? Not at all. The last time he played Tampa Bay, he only got you 14.5 points, and that was earlier this season, obviously. So just putting that out there, but I'm sure that there are going to be worse quarterbacks in worse matchups, so odds are he's probably going to be played. Just, it is what it is. I agree. Cam Newton is one of those guys that he's very streaky. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's cold, and he's not super consistent. And if he can't get it going with his legs or he doesn't have a plush matchup, he tends to struggle. He's going to have those breakout games from time to time, but, I mean, he had almost 40 points this week, and then he had 16 the week before. And so on and so forth. So, we'll see. We'll break all that down, of course, as we move into the weekend and as we get into Friday's recording, which is obviously when we get ready for next week. We're reviewing last week. So we'll move to our number 2 quarterback. People asked if he was streamable. I said he probably was. Nick Foles, Philadelphia Eagles, 33.48 fantasy points, 237 yards and 4 touchdowns. That'll do. Giants are really, really bad on defense. They made a game of it early, but then they imploded pretty effectively. So, Nick Foles. On the other side of the ball, speaking of, Eli Manning, 33.36 fantasy points, 434 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, but the 1 interception dropped him just below Nick Foles, so that's too bad. My start of the week came in 4th, Blake Bortles. How about those shenanigans? I'm going to hopefully ride him to another championship. 326 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Houston Texans. Has the 49ers next week. Let's go, Blake Bortles. Brock Osweiler came in next. 200 points, geez. 29.46, throwing for 194 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. He also rushed for 17 yards and ran for 1 touchdown. So that's his 3-touchdown outing there. And then, of course, there he is. Bad matchup. Back from an injury. Yep. But this is why this guy is a locked and loaded starter for fantasy football. Aaron Rodgers, 27.9 fantasy points, 290 yards and 3 touchdowns against a tough Carolina defense in Carolina. Also ran the ball for another 43 yards. Aaron Rodgers, that's what he does. At the running back position, all hail Todd Gurley. 42 fantasy points in basically 2.5 quarters. He was pulled so early in the second half, it made my head spin because Todd Gurley was one of the main reasons I won in our league of record because I was playing a guy in our league who had phenomenal matchups. I had said to, I believe you guys, I had said to other members of the league, he probably has me this week before the week even started unless something magical happens. Well, Todd Gurley was that magical thing going on the road in Seattle in 2.5 quarters, essentially, 152 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. But oh no, that was not all. He also caught the ball 3 times for 28 yards and a receiving touchdown. 4-touchdown outing from Todd Gurley. Holy crap. And literally, I was watching the game, and then they showed him with the jacket on, and they're like, all right, Todd Gurley's day is done. I was like, no!
More points. More points. Well, you know what?
I edged out my opponent.
You edged him out, yeah. I actually had Todd Gurley in our Dynasty League, and yeah, I was playing CJ, and that did not go well for CJ. I actually beat him by double his score. So it was nice. It was nice having Todd Gurley.
Doesn't it just feel good to crush CJ like that? I mean, he talks so much trash. So yeah.
You know what though? I got to give him his props though. He immediately texted me and was like, "Hey man, good game, good job." So you know he's good. He's good on both ends. He's good on both ends.
No, he's just trying to save face so you don't ridicule him too much during the offseason. But
I'll ridicule the crap out of him. I don't care.
That's true. So, yeah, Todd Gurley. Look, a lot of you guys out there, Todd Gurley kept you alive, and I'm sure a good amount of you, Todd Gurley sunk your fantasy season. So, we feel you guys, but you know this is fantasy football, and there's really nothing to me more enjoyable than fantasy football playoffs because you have such an invested interest in all the games, and you know it's elimination for the teams, it's elimination for your fantasy teams. It's just so intense. Everybody's sitting around during the holidays talking about it and getting excited about it. It's just more fun, and this was intense. I was at a family gathering watching this game, and everyone was losing their minds over this, and it's a bunch of people who couldn't care less about the Los Angeles Rams. So it was just fun. Your number 2 running back on the week, you know, showing that he still has some legs, especially when they decide to give him the ball. You have Kareem Hunt. It helps when you actually get some touches.
Yeah. Throwing the ball, whatever.
It helps. 32.6 fantasy points, 155 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Also caught the ball for another 51 yards and a receiving touchdown as well, getting it done. He's got the Miami Dolphins next week. If he gets enough volume, I'd say this is repeatable. So
I think so.
I mean, I think it's a much easier matchup than the Chargers that he just played, so I guess we will see. Mark Ingram comes in third, 27.1 fantasy points, 74 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Also caught the ball for another 77 yards, so not too bad at all. You have Devontae Freeman at number 4. He went for 126 yards and a touchdown last night, another 68 yards through the air. Melvin Gordon, 22.9 fantasy points, 78 yards and a touch, another 91 yards through the air. You see a trend. These top fantasy running backs, they are used in both aspects of the game. So, these things, they seem obvious, but you see all these people talk about how, you know, this takes me back to Leonard Fournette argument earlier in the season where they're talking about he should be this elite number 1 running back, but he doesn't catch the ball a lot. So this is one of the reasons I was kind of concerned about him, even in standard scoring, because these pass catching yards, even in non-PPR, they add up a lot. Le'Veon Bell here, 117 yards on the ground and a touchdown, another 48 yards receiving. LaShawn McCoy, 50 yards on the ground and a touchdown, but he also 46 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. So, I mean, this is how fantasy works. You know, the stats become points, and you need to be getting the ball and getting these yards to get the stats. At the wide receiver position, you have Keelan Cole, 24.6 fantasy points. And this is a name that I'm sure a lot of you are probably thinking, who is that? Well, if you're saying that, you probably haven't been paying close enough attention as of late, because he has been heating up the last 3 weeks, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But with Marquise Lee going down, he went out for 186 yards and a touchdown, good for 24.5 fantasy points. Sterling Shepard came in next, 19.9 fantasy points, 139 yards receiving and a touch. Tavares King, another Giants wide receiver that you guys are probably wondering, wait, who? So we in fact, half the names in our top 6 that we're going to run off really quickly are names that most of you are probably wondering, who is that? Don't worry about it. We'll get you there. Tavares King, Giants wide receiver, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, 19 fantasy points. Jadon McKinnon's, he went 61 yards and 2 touchdowns, 18.1 fantasy points. Michael Crabtree, my start of the week, 39 yards, not outstanding. Not what I wanted to see. And then quite a few targets that were either bad or dropped at the end of the game there, which really was disheartening to see. But 2 catching touchdowns, so just under 16 fantasy points. That'll do. And then Rashard Matthews, 95 yards and a touchdown. And also Michael Thomas, 93 yards and a touchdown. So these were some of your top-performing wide receivers. Tight ends. Oh, tight ends.
There he is.
I was watching this game and just losing my mind. Because in our League of Record, who had Rob Gronkowski, the number 1 tight end on the week, mind you, none other than the person I was playing. And every single time they lined up, and the announcers were saying it, I was saying it, everyone that I was watching the game with was saying it. Oh, look, Gronk's one-on-one on the outside. I bet I know where the ball is going. And, yep, Rob Gronkowski got just insane performance. He caught 9 of 13 targets for 168 yards. At least they kept him from scoring a touchdown. He did get a 2-point conversion. So if your league allows scoring for that, there you go. But this put together just under a 19-point outing, 18.8. Greg Olsen showing that he's got something left in the tank in a good matchup against the Giants, against the Packers, which actually are statistically really bad against the tight end, but I just think it's because they don't feel the need to exploit that. Well, Greg Olsen, 116 yards and a touchdown, and really I think that's the reason that Devin Funchess really struggled, because all the balls were going Greg Olsen's way. Richard Rodgers showing that, oh yeah, I can do things too sometimes when Aaron Rodgers is around. He went off for 13.7 fantasy points, 77 yards and a touchdown there. Benjamin Watson, which I was highly recommending people picking up and playing if you're on our Patreon show, 74 yards and a touchdown, good for 13.4 fantasy points. That's week winning with the way the tight end position has been this year. Garrett Selleck, another guy that I told you all to pick up last week. 63 yards and a touchdown, and that was good for, 12.3 fantasy points. And then Zach Ertz, your start of the week, right, Jason? Was this yours?
It was.
This was yours. 11.6 fantasy points, 56 yards, and a touchdown. So those were your top-performing tight ends. If you had a lot of these guys, you're probably feeling pretty good. If you played against a lot of these guys, I'm sorry.
Not so much.
It probably made things rough. And then to add some fuel to that fire, we, of course, have our never-ending, seemingly list of players who let you down, and man, were there a lot of them this week.
Long list.
A lot of people were really, really just ruined by crap outings, and a lot of this was bad matchups. You know, it's the end of the season. It's our fantasy playoffs. It's divisional time for the NFL, so these things happen. And we start off with my sit of the week at the quarterback position. It doesn't get any better than this as far as predicting goes.
How does that even happen? How does this even happen? This is, insane.
It happens by being really bad with a really bad offensive line and just not having an opportunity, and also not throwing a touchdown. Andy Dalton went for .52 fantasy points. You heard that correctly. Decimal point, 5.2. He went for 113 yards and 2 interceptions. That was his outing.
Whew.
That's rough. That is really rough. So, I mean, hopefully you listen to our advice, and mine specifically saying to sit him because, tough game on the road in Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is real. That's a lot of people's concern this week with the Packers going to Minnesota. Oh, wait, no. Is it in Minnesota or is it in Green Bay? I don't remember. I'll have to look. But I know the two teams play each other. We have Deshaun Kaiser, 3.34 fantasy points. I don't know
Green
a lot.
Bay.
It's at Green Bay. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered when Aaron Rodgers got hurt playing the Vikings earlier in the year. I was in Minnesota, but I couldn't keep it straight.
Right.
But yeah, not a lot of people played DeShone Kizer, but I heard a lot of people saying, well, the Ravens gave up so many points last week to the Steelers. Maybe that defense really has crumbled because Jimmy Smith went down. And yes, to a degree, they're right. But DeShone Kizer throws a lot of interceptions, and the Ravens are number 1 in the league in takeaways, and DeShone Kizer went out and went for 146 yards and 2 interceptions, also fumbled the ball, so he had 3 takeaways just from him alone, putting up a 3.34 fantasy day. Jay Cutler, 5.76 in a decent matchup, not getting it done. Blaine Gabbert, 6.36 fantasy points. That's a downer there. Yeah. There's some news surrounding that outing that we'll talk about very soon. Phillip Rivers, 9.08 fantasy points, a shocking letdown of a performance. Russell Wilson, 13.58, which, man, Russell Wilson.
Well, he ran into a buzzsaw of a very angry Cardinal defense.
Rams defense?
Matter because, Rams, yeah.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? Rams defense, excuse me. And they just absolutely annihilated him. I think he was sacked 7 or 8 times, something like that. And every time he started to scramble, he had at least 1 or 2 Rams in his face. So that was a lot of fun for me to watch. I gotta be honest with you.
Well, that's not the divisional rival at all. Speaking,
I know what you're talking about.
He was sacked 7 times. So.
Yep.
Yeah, he had shockingly,
Aaron Donald had 3 of those.
He did. Not a bad outing, ball control-wise. He didn't throw any interceptions. He did fumble the ball twice and lost it once, but not too bad in the air. He had 14 completions for 142 yards and a touchdown, basically doing what Russell Wilson does. He's amazing in the fourth quarter, and he went from having, in our league of record, which has custom scoring, you lose a lot of points on sacks and stuff, he was like at one point negative 6.3, I think it was. So to end the week where he did even is impressive. He's on our duds list, but he was still close to our 15-point threshold. So 13.58 from Russell Wilson in your standard 6-point per passing touchdown league. Dak Prescott continuing to struggle without Ezekiel Elliott. 13.68 fantasy points, and Jared Goff in a 42-7 win. They didn't need him.
They didn't need him.
He threw 1 touchdown, and then
just keep handing the ball off, man. You don't even need to throw the ball ever.
Oh wait, no, did he throw 1? No, he threw 2 touchdowns because he threw 1 to
Gurley.
He threw 1 to Gurley
and 1 to Robert Woods.
Woods, thank you. That was the name I was blanking on for some reason. So no, he threw 2 touchdowns. So that must be the extent of it, I guess. He went off for 14.8 fantasy points. I'm trying to find it. Let's see. He had 14 completions for 120 yards. That's what it was. But he did have 2 touchdowns, but he had 1 interception. So that's how the points got distributed, got to where it was. All right, to the running back position, we have LeGarrette Blount, 2.1 fantasy points, 2nd week in a row being in the top of our duds column. So, he's not a thing now. As it would seem.
Stop starting LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, you shouldn't be starting him. If you are, stop if you're still alive. Jay Ajayi, we were talking about during the show all last week, seemingly has gotten that lead role, and this is 2 weeks showing it. So, not good. Amir Abdullah, 2.1. We were telling people probably don't play him as well, and there you go. Derrick Henry, 2.8. The Titans' offense is so frustrating to me. It's insane. I don't know. We'll get into it later on, but their usage and their splitting of DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, maybe, sure, it works for them in real life, but for fantasy, it is just murder.
And this is what I talked about this during one of our earlier episodes earlier in these seasons, actually during the off season, excuse me. And I said, this could actually stall an offense because you have a rhythm back usually, someone who gets into a rhythm, can find those holes. Todd Gurley was a perfect example of that this week. He just figured out a way to shred that defense, and that's good. He got the ball a lot. He got to see the defense over and over again. He knew where the spots were. This back and forth between Henry and DeMarco Murray, it spells these two guys, but neither of them can get a good rhythm going. So it's frustrating.
That it is. I'm trying to see. So DeMarco Murray had 18 rushing attempts, and he had 1 reception. Derrick Henry had 7 rushing attempts and 2 receptions. So Murray still being the lead workhorse, but he shows up on this dud list as well. So it's so frustrating because so many people invested highly in DeMarco Murray, and I even traded for him before the season even started. We were talking about this before the show. I picked him up with the intent of adding him in a big bundle to try and go get a big-ticket running back. I was trying to get my hands on a David Johnson, which glad that didn't happen, and or Le'Veon Bell or something like that, and it just didn't end up working out, and now I'm kind of stuck with him. He has had some great weeks in there, but when he's the featured back, and I know there's the argument, he's been banged up, but I mean, he's healthy now. He's had all these interviews saying, this is the healthiest I have ever been in a week 15, and he got a decent number of carries, but the splitting in the committee, it's just not good for fantasy against what was a good matchup. So the Titans running game is messy, to say the least. Another messy situation in Green Bay, Jamal Williams, 3 fantasy points. He's not a overly dynamic runner. He's a really good north-south runner. He's got some tricks to him. He can catch the ball. But with Aaron Rodgers being back, and we talk about this all the time, Aaron Rodgers will go, first and goal on the 1-yard line and throw the ball 4 times. So it's not great for Green Bay running backs with Aaron Rodgers being back, and Aaron Jones has kind of worked back into the picture. It's become a committee on top of it all. So Jamal Williams was a guy that I sat in our League of Record, and I was saying that this was my concern to a lot of people who submitted questions via Twitter, via email, and it turned out to be the case. 3 points, not good. And I expect that to be the case yet again against, as I always point out, an incredibly tough Minnesota Vikings run defense. So not excited for Week 16. If you were holding on to Jamal Williams thinking he was going to be this season-winning asset, probably not going to be the case. Let's see. Lamar Miller, 3.3 fantasy points. Not surprising. The Jags are just darn good on defense. Matt Forte, we had heard reports saying that he probably wasn't going to play, and then turned out that he was. 3.4 fantasy points. Jonathan Stewart, 3.6. This is why I hate committees. Jonathan Stewart has a week, Christian McCaffrey suffers. Now the exact opposite happened. Christian McCaffrey had a pretty darn good week, and Jonathan Stewart went off for basically nothing. In fact, Christian McCaffrey was, what was he, the running back 7 on the week, I think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the week. So, McCaffrey goes off for 19.6 fantasy points. And, 3.6 if you started Stewart, trying to follow up that great performance he had in Week 14. So, again, this is why I try to stay away from committees, which is why it's frustrating that I have DeMarco Murray. It's making my head spin. Carlos Hyde, 3.9 fantasy points. Titans are actually pretty darn good against the run in the grand scheme of things. Alex Collins, 5.2. He got banged up badly in this game, and the Ravens had such a lead, they didn't feel the need to put him back in. Buck Allen was doing really well, so they just kind of kept with him. And that, unfortunately, really sunk a lot of teams. A lot of people were riding high on Alex Collins. CJ was one of them. It was CJ's start of the week.
Yep.
So,
it was.
Look, you can't predict injuries. We always say that. You know who has trends to get injured, and you pointed this out in a conversation we had before the show, Jason. We can go into any given year and say, well, I'm projecting the season, and I know Jordan Reed's going to miss at least 3 games. You can do that, but week to week, you can't know. This is the week it's going to happen. So, And
if you listen to this show in the off season, then that's exactly what we did this year.
We did actually.
I mean,
this is why we heavily debated. And actually, we had a lot of people write in trying to give us crap for saying, the fact that you don't have Jordan Reed as your number 2 tight end is just blasphemy. You guys are idiots. You don't know what you're doing. Well, where's Jordan Reed now? Jordan Reed is on injured reserve, and I'd have to look at his numbers on the season, but I'm pretty sure he's outside of the top 50 tight ends. So
they're not good at all.
Exactly. This was the concern. Alex Collins, back to how we got to this conversation. Not a great week, but injuries prevailed, and they're trying to save him for future conflicts. Have the Colts this week, which is a very good matchup, and then the Bengals in Week 17, though that doesn't matter for fantasy unless you're playing in one of those crazy leagues you shouldn't be playing in. So, we'll see. Kerwin Williams, 6.1 fantasy points. Not the best outing. I thought he looked like he was running decently well, though. I don't know. What were your thoughts?
He got hurt.
Yeah,
he got hurt.
That's
he
true.
hit quadricep injury. But it's just, it's just the Arizona offense. It doesn't understand who it is right now. They've lost their entire identity. No David Johnson, no Carson Palmer. The only thing they got left is Larry Fitzgerald, and they're not getting him the ball. So this team has stalled, and I have a bad feeling about the offseason.
Clean house type of season?
Not necessarily, but I definitely think there's going to be some firings because it's kind of time. At least I'll predict this. I think that the special teams coach is gone.
Okay, but you're not thinking Bruce Arians is going anywhere, do you?
I would say next year Bruce Arians will be on the hot seat.
I would agree with that, but I don't think he's on the hot seat this year.
Not this year. Not this year. No, I mean he lost Carson Palmer. He lost his star running back. You can't expect the coach to get you to the playoffs without your two best players.
And you've had a banged up defense too.
Don't
want to discount any of that.
Yeah, exactly. And a banged up offensive line again. So I mean, it's a lot of bad luck. But this is the thing: when you start getting into 3-4 seasons where you're not getting into the playoffs, you start looking at your coach going, "You going to do something about this or what?"
No, you're right. So, yeah, we'll see. But, of course, this is a conversation and debate that we're going to get into amongst many others once we get through Week 17. So lots of good conversation points coming up as we recap the season for basically the next 2 months. So we'll save it for then. Alfred Morris, 6.1 fantasy points. Not great there. DeMarco Murray, we already talked about, 6.3. Jordan Howard, 6.3. Samaje P. Ryan, 6.6. And Frank Gore, 6.8. Frank Gore actually did better than I thought he was going to after, the crazy snowball he was in. He did.
Yeah.
We call him the Ageless Wonder all the time. I know a lot of people around the industry do, and it's a very appropriate nickname. He's setting all these records and tying a lot of other ones, so...
Yeah.
Oh, man, if he's got another 1 or 2 seasons in him, he's going to be so record-breaking. It's insane. So, yeah, but we'll see. They're definitely cleaning house in Indianapolis after this season. We've actually heard a couple reports saying that they're going to gut the team, essentially. So we'll see who survives.
They need to.
I think Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton survive, maybe Vontae Davis, and I don't know, besides them, who's going to be back. So we'll see.
I think that young tight end they have is probably going to be around. But other than that, I think they're going for an all-new team pretty much.
You think they hold on to Jack Doyle?
No, not the younger one.
What
the heck is that guy's name? I can never remember his name.
I know, I can't either. I'm blanking.
Jack Doyle.
No, I know who you're talking about. Well, again, off-season conversation to be had. Let's move to the wide receiver position, and let's fire through these a little bit rapid fire. Wow, we're already half an hour into the show, and we haven't even gotten to the news yet. Marquise Lee, which was your sit of the week, so...
my start of the week.
Oh, that was your start of the week. Oh, no.
That was my start of the week.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know.
I had no clue.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to, rub that in. But, 0.0 points. But, again, you can't predict injuries. He got hurt real early in this game. So, and he's probably going to miss the next couple weeks. So if you were hoping on Marquise Lee being that ace up your sleeve, I know that I was. I told a lot of you to pick him up.
Yep.
Injuries happen. They are completely unpredictable. And, man, timing could not be worse. 0 points.
Yep.
Josh Doxson, 0.2. Doug Baldwin, 0.6. That sucks. Oof. That really sucks. But, again, the Seahawks, they kind of gave up on this game. And you
Rams
could see
are for real.
The Rams... Man, going from how bad they were just a year ago to where they are now.
Look, I'll tell you something right now. If Sean McVay doesn't win Coach of the Year, I'll be very shocked.
What is CJ's line? Pitchforks and rioting in the streets? Something to that effect?
Yeah, and didn't we talk about whether or not the Rams would have a fan base? I got news for you.
No, the Chargers.
This Rams team. No, we said the Rams, too. When the Rams moved from St. Louis, whether or not they would have a fan base in Los Angeles, I think they're going to have a fan base in Los Angeles.
Well, being a winning franchise helps, and making the playoffs helps.
Yeah.
So I would say out of the two teams immediately, right? I mean, they're the ones playing in a big stadium where the Chargers are playing in the StubHub Stadium where they can seat 20,000 fans. So I would say the Chargers are in a deep hole. Maybe they end up back in San Diego, which I know a lot of people would love to see. So well, another offseason conversation to be had. But Doug Baldwin in your semifinals laying an egg, that sucks.
Not good.
I know I was rooting for this to happen only because my opponent had him in our League of Record this week, but I know in general this sucked for most of you. Kenny Stills, 0.8. Sammy Watkins, 1.4. Cole Beasley, 1.5. Mike Evans, oh, no, wait, that's not updated. I filled that out way before the game ended. Let's see, Devin Funches, 1.9. That's what we were talking about with Greg Olson having a great game. Not a lot of volume in Carolina, so it had to probably come from somewhere. So that sucked. Kelvin Benjamin, 2 points. Jeremy Macklin, 2.2, which I cannot believe this. I looked this up. Jeremy Macklin's still owned in well over 60% of leagues. Why are people holding on to Jeremy Macklin?
Because they're hoping to see some of that old magic.
I guess so. Antonio Brown, 2.4. Jordy Nelson, 2.8. Jordy Nelson was so close to having a really good game, but he got underthrown a couple times. Aaron Rodgers, he's great and all, but he's not a robot. He came back from injury. It's going to take a game or two to get all that timing right. Tough matchup.
Right.
But with things that happened, maybe an uptick in volume for Nelson. We'll talk about it. Adam Thielen, 3 points. AJ Green, 3 points. That's
my sit of the week.
There you go. And you were right, and I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but it sure did, and that hurt me. But I won, so I guess it's okay.
Either way, it didn't hurt you that bad.
Not terribly. Golden Tate, 3.3. Robbie Anderson, 4. T.Y. Hilton, 4.1. Josh Gordon, 4.7. Keenan Allen, 5.4, but he got hurt. Dez Bryant, 5.5. Man, Dez Bryant is just not who we thought he was anymore.
You know what? He's exactly who I thought he was. I always have said, you do not start Dez Bryant in December. He does not play well in December.
I wish I could argue that statement, but I do remember you saying that. And then Larry Fitzgerald, 6 points. We kind of touched on that already.
Throw the ball to Larry.
Just throw the ball to him. And, tight end position. I just handpicked a few because this list just, it just runs. There's so many of them.
Not good.
But we all had our sit of the week that we were right on. Vernon Davis went for negative 0.2. Jimmy Graham, negative 0.1. He caught one ball and was for negative yardage. So unless you're in a PPR league, he went negative. David Njoku, CJ sit of the week, got 0 points. Austin Hooper, your sit of the week, got 0 points. Tyler Croft, 0.1. Jesse James, 0.7, though very close to getting a touchdown grab. And man, if he had caught that grab, how differently the AFC landscape would have looked. But of course, being a Ravens fan, seeing the Steelers lose is never a bad thing to me. Though seeing the Patriots win is never a good thing. So that's one of those games where I just kind of hope they kill each other. But someone had to win, unfortunately.
Hope they both lose.
I was hoping for a tie, honestly. Anytime something like that happens, I hope for a tie. Let's see. Ricky Seals-Jones, 1.1. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, my sit of the week, 1.3. Julius Thomas, 1.5. Jared Cook, 1.7. Hunter Henry, 2.8. He got hurt. We'll touch on that. Travis Kelce, 4.6. Jason Witten, 4.7. Just to name a few, those were some of the guys who really let you down in the divisional playoffs. And with that, let's move on to some of our top headlines from around the league. We'll fire through these pretty quickly. We'll start at the quarterback position, and we'll start in New York with the Jets, where they are reportedly not considering starting quarterback Christian Hackenberg. There was a lot of news surrounding the performance from last week's game. They will reportedly continue with Bryce Petty. So, good news or bad news, take it as you will. I'm not surprised either. They kind of stick to their guns. So, Bryce Petty will continue to be the guy there, which is honestly good news for Robbie Anderson owners if he's able to get and stay healthy, because he looked a little hobbled in this game. Let's see. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Kaiser is also to remain the starting quarterback, at least in Cleveland, at least for Week 16 versus the Chicago Bears. Another highly debated topic, but these franchises that are struggling, these are typical headlines. And where those two were remaining the same, in Arizona, head coach Bruce Arians said that Drew Stanton will start in Week 16 versus the New York Giants over Blaine Gabbert. Way less exciting option. Maybe a higher floor play, but I think the ceiling takes a nosedive.
You don't get much higher floor than more than no touchdowns. It's
true.
You can't do any worse really than what we've done the last 2 weeks.
That's fair. I can't argue it. But yeah, so Drew Stanton, he's back. Not to anyone's excitement, but yeah, he's back. Let's go to the running back position, where Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott has completed his 6-game suspension. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. And he's
probably ticked off.
He's probably ticked off. He's come out and talked about how he wants to run for 200 yards in his first game back, and he's got a matchup where that basically just happened. He's got the Seattle Seahawks, if memory serves, correct? I'm pretty sure. Yes, he's got the Seattle Seahawks at home in, I almost said in Detroit for some reason, in Dallas. So maybe you see some of these Twitter updates and these photos. He looks like he's been working out like a crazy person. So I guess it's possible, and hopefully this will bring a spark back to that Dallas offense, because man, do I need Dez Bryant to have a good week. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are thinking the same thing. Dak Prescott's not been a safe, streamable option. And, that offensive line has not been what it's been in years past. We've covered that extensively, but we've seen that Dak Prescott is not the same without a solid, dangerous running game. So we'll see how this affects. And obviously, unfortunately, we don't get a chance to have a sample size. We jump right into your fantasy championship. So, man, we'll see. We will see. In other news, man, this guy, the 1 year that Le'Veon Bell plays a full season for fantasy, he didn't get hurt, he didn't get suspended. I've had James Conner on my bench since the draft, just eating up a roster spot. And then not only do I not get to use him, but it's kind of like that last little hurrah where not only is it not someone I get to end the season with, because he's hurt. He got hurt in the game, and he will be getting knee surgery. So, I burned a roster spot for no reason. But these are the games you play. We've seen that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they feature one guy, and if Le'Veon Bell had gone down, James Conner looked good in the preseason and limited opportunities. So I thought that's going to be an ace up my sleeve. It didn't end up being a thing. So, these are the precautions you take. But, yeah, that sucks. That's bad news. And that, of course, will probably affect him in the offseason. And, honestly, him getting a knee injury this late is really kind of concerning. Well, not concerning, but interesting, because, this is a team that we don't know what direction they're going to go in with Le'Veon Bell this offseason. They franchise tagged him this year, and then they ran him into the ground for the majority of the season, seemingly trying to just use that 1 year contract and then possibly move on from him because he's asking for so much money. So this will be interesting to try and see if this visibly alters their approach. Not that we know what it was going to be, but of course this is going into the time of the year where we start hearing the truth behind the scenes. A lot of insiders start coming out and letting things be known. And, of course, all the offseason narratives, they're going to start soon. So we'll see. Let's go to the wide receiver position, where also in Pittsburgh, this time with wide receiver Antonio Brown. He went down in this game. Man, that helped nobody. I'm sure a lot of fantasy players out there had Antonio Brown in the playoffs. Well, yeah, obviously, if you're playing against him. This probably hurt a lot of you in your fantasy games. I have him in 2 leagues. I was able to survive both those games, but just barely. Antonio Brown has a partially torn calf muscle. He is reportedly unlikely to play this week, which to that I say, duh. I don't expect to see him the rest of the season. But they said they expect him to hopefully be ready and be back by the NFL postseason. So it does nothing to help us in fantasy. So that's really bad. A guy who's clearly, and has to be in the talks for the league MVP. We hear it all the time. Wide receiver has never won the award, but he was having a phenomenal season, and it really sucks to see it end this way. No, I guess you can't say end because there's a possibility he returns in the postseason. But for your fantasy year, he ends your season with 1,533 yards and 9 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. So, Antonio Brown, everybody. We'll see how this plays out.
There you go.
Let's go to Los Angeles to the Chargers, where wide receiver Keenan Allen is expected to be, quote, fine for Week 16 versus the Jets. He left the game with a back injury. Looked pretty painful, but apparently this was more precautionary, and he should be back and ready to go. Let's see. In Green Bay, wide receiver Devontae Adams, who left the game, he is in the league's concussion protocol. He is expected to miss at least Week 16. This is his second concussion of the year, so they're going to be more careful with it. They tend to add up, as scary as that is. So there's no real delusions or thoughts that he's going to play this week. And the man who made the hit, Carolina Panthers linebacker, Thomas Davis, he has been suspended for 2 games for the hit. Now, he showed a lot of remorse over it. He didn't mean to. Was kind of caught up in the moment. It was a bang-bang play. I get all that. I was honestly surprised that he got 2 games after, and I saw a lot of discussion on this. Gronk got only 1 for that blatant late hit. So I expect him to appeal and probably get it reduced to 1. But yeah, that's a thing, especially.
I think it's because.
Go ahead.
I think it's just because Devontae Adams got hurt. I mean, when Gronk did that, he didn't hurt the guy.
No, the guy got hurt. He got a concussion. I'm blanking on his name.
Did he have a concussion?
Yeah, he got a concussion. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name?
I stand corrected.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but I don't remember. But yeah, no, I expect it to be reduced, honestly.
It probably will be.
So we'll see. But this is, of course, doesn't matter if you own Thomas Davis in an IDP league. Probably not going to have in Week 16. Just putting that out there. That's more of a Patreon conversation that we have. A lot more IDP talk, but yeah, putting that out there right now to the masses. In Jacksonville, wide receiver Marquise Lee, we already kind of mentioned this. He is expected to return, quote, by the playoffs or sooner, per a quote from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. But that doesn't really give us a lot of excitement or positivity or really hope that he will be available for Week 16. We'll talk about some options very soon. In Baltimore, I hate this guy so much right now. Wide receiver Jeremy Maclin, who has been a bum this year. He is not expected to play in Week 16 versus the Colts. Whatever. He's been their third-string wide receiver at best this year. Good matchup for Mike Wallace, though. And then the New York Jets. And I didn't really see this coming, honestly. I don't know why. They have released wide receiver Jeremy Curley. So, a free agent. They're just trying to clear cap before the offseason. And let's go to the tight end position, where the Los Angeles Chargers tight end Hunter Henry has a lacerated kidney. Now,
ouch.
I don't know how this keeps happening, because isn't this exactly what Keenan Allen had?
The lacerated kidney?
Yeah, didn't he have this last year, which is what knocked him out for the second half of the year, or 2 years ago, whenever that was?
I remember it was an internal organ, but I didn't remember that it was a lacerated kidney.
I'm pretty sure it was, off the top of my head.
Well, you know what? There's hard water in LA. There's a lot of hard water. There should be, kidney stones and such. Not good. Don't drink the water.
Yeah, I'm looking it up really fast because I wanna know exactly what it is, because if that is, that's just ridiculous.
Very strange.
Let's see. It was abdominal kidney bruise. Undergo surgery. Yeah, lacerated his kidney. So yeah, they were both lacerated kidneys. And the funny thing is that they said his status is uncertain for the remainder of the season. Well, if Keenan Allen lacerated his kidney and was done for the year, why would they think that Hunter Henry has any chance of coming back? Because, I mean, it's not like these internal organ injuries heal quicker or slower. I mean, it's a serious thing. So they're going to...
maybe it's just not as bad of a laceration.
I mean, that's the only variable. But
yeah.
I have to assume that he's not going to play in Week 16. So
I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And they were trying to act like they were leaving the door open for him to play this week. And I unless they're completely misjudging and misleading us on the injury, I don't think we're going to see him this week. So, yeah, just putting that out there. Hunter Henry.
Straight up coach speak.
Straight up coach speak. And we have to start getting ready for those coach speak filters for the offseason. So that's kind of having fun. And then we'll wrap up the news in Miami, where tight end Julius Thomas is expected to be released by the team after the season is over. And this is per the Miami Herald's Barry Jackson.
You think he's done?
I don't know if he's done. I mean, not a great season, but it was a transitional year. He's ended up in Miami late, didn't he? Or was he there for a while? I don't remember exactly when the offseason.
In Miami, beginning of the year.
Was he there? I don't remember if this happened at the beginning of the league season or not.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the offseason.
All right, a system he knew that he's been productive in before. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was part of it. I think it was a quarterback situation. I mean, when Cutler came in, I think that changed things a little bit. But I like Julius Thomas. It's just he's got to be in the right system. He's got to be in a system that features the tight end more, and that was not the right system for him. So
I could see Benjamin Watson retiring in Baltimore and Julius Thomas being that veteran tight end they bring in, because he's good in a pass-catching role. That's what he does. And I agree, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I think that he was a victim of his circumstances. Jay Cutler is not the end-all, be-all at the quarterback position. I think we can all agree on that.
At all.
I think that Miami is also disappointed having this guy who had this prolific career with Adam Gase, who's their head coach, of course, now, where this year he's put up, going into Week 16, 388 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, that doesn't sound very good, but that's still a tight end 2 on the season. I think that's the 22nd tight end, which just goes to tell you how bad the position has been this year.
Maybe he ends up in somewhere like Carolina with Greg Olsen nearing the twilight of his career. That might be someone to come in and take that spot, and that's more what he needs. He needs to be almost a featured.
Oh, he definitely needs to be featured
receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's got the speed to fill the shoes of a Greg Olsen. I mean, they've got I don't know. They've got Ed Dixon there who does that phenomenally well, but he doesn't have the best hands in the world. I can say that as him being an ex-Raven. I've seen a lot of his practice tape, but I don't know. Anyway, again, a conversation for the offseason. With that, let's move on to why everyone is here, and that is the topic of the day, the top waiver wire targets for week number 16. Now, we went ahead and we kind of threw it all out there. We have a lot of names to give you guys, more than normal, because we want to give you guys as much information and as much preparation as we can for your Week 16 championships. Now, we'll start at the running back position, as we always do, and I'm going to throw out a name like I do from time to time. These are guys that you want to check and see if they are available. Rex Burkhead, for some reason, the news blurb didn't make it on our headlines. That's weird. But he is injured. He's done. So I really like Dion Lewis's upside here. He's owned in 59.8% of leagues. So he was already kind of the lead back there, but Rex Burkhead was getting the red zone work. I expect Dion Lewis to get an even larger portion of the offense. Expect Gillislee to come in and probably be that red zone back, but Dion Lewis is a very good flex option with upside now. He's just a little bit more owned than the under 50% that we look for this segment. But my guy who actually falls into this segment is Orleans Darkwa. Now, I know he was my sit of the week last week. I know this because he was my sit. But, guys, he wasn't terrible last week. A lot of people thought he would be really bad, myself included. He did better than I anticipated, but he's got a much better matchup this week against the Cardinals, right? Who's he playing this week? Why am I blanking on this?
Who? Orleans Darkwa? Yeah, Cardinals.
Yeah, okay, I'm right. Yeah, Orleans Darkwa is playing the Cardinals, who are a top 10 matchup, as in a good way. They are a bottom of the league defense for fantasy running backs. Yeah, that's right. There it is. Arizona Cardinals, 4 o'clock game. That's what I thought. So upside is there, and we see, sorry, Jason, for lack of a better term, kind of dumpster fire going on in Arizona right now. So I mean that in the best possible way. I think that this will be more of a competitive game.
How is that a best possible way?
We just went into it. Everybody's hurt. So, I mean, it's not I don't know. I
hear you.
I don't know how to sugarcoat this. I dug a hole.
You can't sugarcoat it. They're playing like crap.
They are. I'm trying to be nice.
It can't be sugar-coated.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, the Giants are dumpster fire. These are both teams that we thought were going to be in the playoff picture. Neither one of them are, and both defenses are not outstanding, and the Cardinals are not very good against the runs. So I like Orleans Darkwall's chances, especially after what was a really good outing by the Giants' offense this past week.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I'm sticking with that. He's owned in 36.1% of leagues. CJ's guys is Aaron Jones, which I get where he's coming from. Aaron Jones, he's been being worked in more. He's more of a home run hitter. He's got that upside. But Jamal Williams has been the guy there. And I really think that this is now a 1-2 punch committee like we were talking about before. And they're going up against a really good run defense against the Vikings, a divisional opponent that knows them very well. And with Aaron Rodgers being back, the opportunity is even more limited. They're going to pass the ball more in the red zone than they're going to run like they were. So I completely disagree with CJ here. Not that Aaron Jones is a bad player, but, I mean, obviously we're talking Week 16 here. These are one-week pickups. This is championship weekend. I'm not picking up and starting Aaron Jones this week. Jason, I don't want to be alone here. What are your thoughts?
I'd like to hear his reasoning.
That's what
why, because CJ doesn't just throw names on here. I mean, he usually has a reason, even if the reason we don't agree with it. So I don't know. Again, I agree with you. I don't know why he put this name on here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't like that situation, so I would have to disagree with him as well.
Yeah. But it's okay, because we're making up for it by a lot of other names, like me throwing out Deion Lewis. Your guy, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. My guy, okay, so if you were watching the Cardinal game, like I was, unfortunately, then you saw that Kerwin Williams went down. He is likely going to be out again, probably. And Elijah Penny should be the guy that you pick up in his place. He's going to get the volume. He was the featured back in the fourth quarter. That's when he got most of his work in. And he averaged about 4.5 yards per carry. Not bad. He's going to get the volume. And Drew Stanton's going to come back in. So that offense, as unexciting as that is, that offense should run a bit better with Drew Stanton under center. He understands the offense much better than Blake Gabbert does. So Elijah Penny is going to get the first and second down opportunities, and he's owned basically in 0 leagues. Literally, he has no rank. I went and looked.
Not even
There's no ranking for him.
It must be like a 0.01% range, a hundredth of a decimal that we're not seeing it. So
something like
I'm
that.
sure someone owns him somewhere. So
I don't know, but he is a straight north and south bruising back. He's a big guy, and he's the kind of guy you want to run the ball on first and second down when you don't have a David Johnson or an Adrian Peterson or a Kerwin Williams. So he is a good bet to start or to get on the waiver wire because, like I said, he's going to be our featured guy. So, yeah, Elijah Penny, that's my guy.
Or a released Andre Ellington. So, yeah. All right, yeah, so those are some of our sneaky guys. Let's move to the wide receiver position where there's even more goodness to be had, where I am going to point out that you should check your waiver wires for Juju Smith-Schuster, who was heavily involved with Antonio Brown going down. He's kind of earned that number 2 spot, even with the suspension he served. He still went back out there and was very, very heavily used in the game that we just saw against the Patriots. And Antonio Brown being now down and out is even better for him. So I really like him, but he's owned in 58.2% of leagues, so this is bonus. Another guy who I'm saying in bonus is Robert Woods. We talked at pretty good length, actually, last week about Robert Woods' upside. You know, we said that this is statistically a pretty good matchup. The Seahawks were really banged up. This is a high-scoring offense. He is the number 1 target, but he was coming off injury. Well, even with all that being said, and Todd Gurley just being crazy and scoring all the touchdowns, Robert Woods still went out there and got a touchdown pass and put up a good fantasy day. So I really like his opportunity this week, and I really like his upside. So, yeah, Robert Woods is another guy who you just check to see if he's out there because he's owned in 51.3% of leagues. So there's actually a pretty darn good chance that he's available. And I'm blanking on him as well. Why don't I have all this stuff prepared in front of me? Who are they playing this week? They're playing oh, geez.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
The Rams are playing the Titans. That's what it was. Which are not an outstanding defense either. So yeah, I really like his upside. So 51.3% of leagues, he's probably out there. Check. Let's see. But my guy who falls into the limitations of this segment is Mike Wallace. 43.1 fantasy or percent of leagues he's owned. He is owned in.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. So, guys, Jeremy Macklin's down. They're going up against the Colts, which are hella bad on the defensive side. And this game is also in Baltimore. So everything is pointing to Mike Wallace having a very good game. I know it sucks and it's terrifying, and I say this as a Ravens fan, to put your faith in any weapon that's getting the ball through Joe Flacco. But this guy has been a good PPR option. He's been a good real-life option, and he is going to get a good amount of volume and opportunity in a very good matchup, especially with Macklin being down and out. So I like Mike Wallace as a streamable flex option this week. CJ's guy is Martavis Bryant, which I think falls into the same category as Juju Smith-Schuster. Excuse me. Antonio Brown's down. Martavis Bryant's the next guy up. Good volume and a high-scoring offense. And, yeah. Jason, your guy.
Well, my guy, and people are going to freak out because of who they're playing, but my guy, again, is Marquise Goodwin. And the reason I have him on here is because he is just getting volume from a increasingly good Jimmy Garoppolo. I mentioned him in our last show saying probably want to pick up Jimmy Garoppolo because he's getting better and better and better every single week, and he did it again. Had his best game to date. And if you look at the stats for Marquise Goodwin, they parallel Jimmy Garoppolo's. They go up. 9.9, 10.6, and this last week was 12.4. Now, the problem is that they are playing a very scary Jacksonville, and Jacksonville still has something to play for because they've clinched a playoff berth, but they still have to play for their division. So it's scary. However, I still think that Marquise Goodwin is going to get enough volume for him to be a little tricky, nice addition to your roster. I have another guy here that I want to talk about real quick.
I'm sorry. Look, I really like Marquise Goodwin as well. I really do. But I in no way, shape, or form can support your argument there of him being worth being picked up to be played this week. If you play into Week 17, go for it. They got the Rams, which the Rams are, a decent defense. But last time we saw these two play, it was a huge shootout. So I like it then. But you couldn't pay me. Well, you might be able to pay me, but you probably wouldn't be able to pay me enough to play Marquise Goodwin in Week 16 against the Jags. It's just we've seen them shut down basically every single wide receiver they've gone up against.
It's not ideal. I completely understand. I completely agree with that.
This next guy, though, we both completely agree on, though.
Yeah, the next guy. I'll still say this though. I think that the Jags are going to go in and they're going to underestimate the Niners. That happens a lot, especially to the Niners. They're on a hot streak. They've won 3 straight games. So I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think it's going to be. It's going to be one of those scrappy games where the Niners come in and try to punch the Jags in the nose. It's not going to work. They're going to lose. But I still think that Marquise Goodwin's going to get some points. And we'll see. Maybe I'm completely stupid and wrong. We'll find out. However, this next guy, both of you and I absolutely agree with. Keelan Cole. Who? Keelan Cole. Let me tell you about Keelan Cole. Last 3 weeks, 49 yards and a touchdown. 99 yards and a touchdown. 186 yards and a touchdown. The guy has been fire for the last 3 weeks. And why Marquise Lee is now gone, guess what? This guy's going to get tons and tons of volume. Apparently, Blake Bortles likes throwing him the ball. So, this is a very nice pickup and a very nice matchup going against the San Francisco 49ers. You want to get this guy. He is available. He is absolutely 100% available. I mean 100%. He doesn't have a rating. He's not owned anywhere. So, he is probably available. Go get him, put him on your bench, start him against San Francisco. He is a good bet.
Yeah, he's so low owned that he doesn't even show up. Though I expect that to change very, very quickly. And again, with like you said, with Marquise Lee going down, we saw just the game he had. 7 of 9 targets, 186 yards and a touchdown against the Houston Texans, which is a phenomenal matchup, admittedly, and at home. This one's on the road in San Francisco, but I still think that he has good wide receiver 2 production opportunity for you this week. If you need a guy, pick him up. Or if you're going against somebody, this is a strategy we talk about a lot on the Patreon show as well, just game strategy in general. If you're going up against somebody who needs a wide receiver, this guy was the #1 fantasy wide receiver last week. Odds are they're probably making a bid for him. So go out and put a bid in yourself so you don't let your opponent get him. That's the thing, because this guy is going to sell, and he's probably going to have a pretty decent week. With that, let's wrap up the show very quickly. How are we doing on time? Wow, we're already over an hour. So let's see. Tight end, Antonio Gates. Hunter Henry's down. He's not coming back. I mean, Antonio Gates is the highest touchdown scoring tight end in NFL history, and he's going to be out there with no competition at the position. So I really like Antonio Gates' opportunity. I know he hasn't been great, but that's been in a committee, and he's not in that committee anymore. So I would go start him this week. And he's got the New York Jets, which are a okay defense, but they're not. I'm not scared of them. So yeah, that's my recommendation. CJ's guy is Garrett Selleck, and I am concerned. I love Garrett Selleck. Right, I do. He was my pickup of the week for last week. I told a lot of people to pick him up last week and play him, and if you did, it worked out nicely for you. But again, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't trust anybody. So, yeah, at your own risk, Garrett Selleck. So I disagree with two of CJ's three guys here. That's why I wish he was here to tell me his reasoning. And your guy, Jason.
Ricky Seals-Jones. I know he hasn't been much recently, but guess what? He's got about the best matchup he could possibly have at the tight end position. He's going up against the Giants this coming week. And Drew Stanton is back. I think Drew Stanton is going to find a way to get the ball to Ricky Seals-Jones. I'd go ahead and grab him up.
I agree.
7.2% of leagues.
Yes, Antonio Gates available in 31.7% of leagues, and CJ cannot be bothered to put the percentage owned of any of his guys. So, we don't know, but I assume it falls within the limitations because he was barely owned when I talked about him last week.
Garrett Selleck is they don't have a percentage up for Garrett Selleck, which they should, because I know he's owned in some leagues.
I was going to say, I thought I had a number for him last week.
Yeah. It's not up there for some reason. That's weird.
Let's see. Last week I had him down. He was owned in 0.3% of leagues, and I bet that went up. So I'm guessing that's just a glitch on NFL.com. So, yeah.
Probably.
All right, so we are out of here. Everyone, please take care. Have a great week. Best of luck on your waivers, and we will see you guys on Friday. Championship week. Oh, man, as we talk about all of our starts and sits for week number 16. Guys, best of luck to you. I know it's premature because we're not even to the Friday show yet, but there's going to be Thursday Night Football between now and then, so best of luck to you guys. Remember, subscribe wherever you're listening. We are a year-round show. We are on iTunes and Stitcher and the works. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. You can subscribe and give us a rating on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. If you want to support the show, help us get our cameras back up and running and our sound effects and upgrade some of the things that we have planned down the line and get them out quicker, you can help support us at patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics, where we do bonus podcasts every single week, the much more in-depth ones. This one, we're talking much more in-depth on championship week preparations. So, it's good stuff, guys. Everyone seems to like it. And, of course, follow us individually on Twitter. The show is at the FF Fanatics. I am at GPalmerFFF, and Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13. So with that, we're out of here. Any parting thoughts, Jason?
Guys, thanks for sticking with us through our transition period here, and we're going to get out of this season, get out of the holidays, and start pumping some good stuff into our show here. So thanks a lot. We appreciate it. And as I've begged many times, send me some questions on Twitter. I love talking football, guys. Tell me I'm an idiot even. It's fine. I can take it.
Yeah, share with him your favorite foods. You know, he'll have a conversation with you. You know, whatever works.
Why you gotta talk about food, man? We trying to say I'm
because I'm hungry and it's what's on my mind. So I'm gonna go get some food. All right, everyone, take care. Have a great week, and we will see you on the Patreon show. If not, we will see you on Friday. Take care, guys. Bye.